quickly. So, yeah, what I want to do is I want to share a few of the tasks that I want to work on today with everybody. And let me share my screen. All right, yeah, so I want to share a couple of the tasks that I want to work on today, just like some of the next steps. So I'm going to go over to the code. Let me know if you can't see it, but I'm going to open up the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And so we have our index.html. This is pretty clean. I mean, this is as clean as it gets. We don't really have to do anything to this file right here. This is pretty tidy, pretty good looking. Styles.css. So one thing I want to do here is I kind of just want to work our way from the top to the bottom, adding some comments to make it a little bit easier to navigate. Like, let me go ahead and just add one right now. So you could see we have our body, we have our nav, our main, and our footer. So I could go ahead and just say, like, we'll add, so we could go ahead and just add some comments like, just to make it like a lot nicer, make it easy for people to navigate. So like core styling, HTML, body, universal sort of thing. And then do the same thing for, like, we have our nav. So just have like navigation styling. Just make this better. Make sure that the styles that have to do with each section are only in that section. So then we have like main section styling, and then we have our footer here, footer styling. And then we could even go ahead and we have like styles in here inside of our main that are 3 different pages. So we have our main, but then we also have our home, we have our list page, we have our detail page, and I would like to separate those as well, just to make it like very clear what's being styled. Eventually, when I launch the advanced JavaScript, I would like to integrate like Sass, like a preprocessor, just something that's like higher level, that has a lot more features, that sort of thing. But for now, we'll keep it CSS. So that's one thing I want to do. Just tidy up the styling, going through and being like, all right, search input, where's that? We go to our JavaScript, search input is gonna be here inside of our volunteer list. So make sure they're all underneath the volunteer list section. Just clean it up a little bit. Second thing is, so I was thinking about yesterday, we came here and we have our like dummy data. And then we looked at the API, and the API doesn't provide any good information. And all the APIs, actually, I don't even know if the APIs that cost money provide good information. It could be a whole bunch of like, just like not good information. Like I want descriptions, I want industry, I just want more information that's useful. And so my idea was, why rely on some API? Like right now we have our dummy data, so I'd like to actually let me go ahead and just do, so to do create a schema for volunteer opportunities. Now volunteer opportunities are coming from nonprofits, right? And so my idea was, I don't know if anyone who was here initially is here now, but eventually on our first day, what we wanted to do was a problem that a lot of people who came up with this project idea was facing, was they were looking to volunteer for nonprofit companies or for nonprofit organizations, and they were having trouble finding nonprofits to volunteer for, or just finding the accurate information, contact information, all that stuff. It was just a difficult thing, and so we were building the solution to that. And so I think instead of, like, we could have our dummy data right now just for this feature, the volunteer list. Each one of us will just create one nonprofit organization, It could have, we'll just create like a dummy organization. Like we could even just come up with like what we think would be a cool organization if like you started a nonprofit, and just kind of like recreate that as an object. And so we need like an ID, a name, location, description. And then if you look at the Figma file, there's some other stuff that we also need to include based on the second page, or on the details page. So if you look at our lo-fi wireframe, we're going to have like cause areas. Like, what are the cause areas of this nonprofit? When is the volunteer opportunity? Where? So we have location, skills required for this opportunity, good for individual, group, what are the other options, and requirements. So all these things we will add to this. So it'd be something like description. We could even do like requirements. That could be an array with just like requirement 1, requirement 2. And now if we create our own schema for volunteers, then when we're done with this feature, the next feature we can add is the ability for nonprofit organizations to actually like sign up or like post an opportunity. So instead of like pulling from some API and being limited as far as the data, we should just have nonprofits who sign up for this website, give them the ability to like make a volunteer opportunity available and sign up. So like they fill out their name, they fill out, and it'll just be like a form that they fill out. And when they click submit, it sends it to our JavaScript. Our JavaScript handles it, and for now just stores it in local memory. That way, when this page loads, the volunteer list page loads, we won't have to use dummy data. We could actually use like data that the nonprofits are creating, and do it that way. I think that would be best. What do y'all think?
So when something's being created in a database, where it's just being stored in the browser in local storage?
Yeah, we'll just store it in the local storage for now, since this is primarily focused on front end.
Okay, and like that limit, like 5 or 10 megabytes, they'll hold us over for a long time.
Say what?
So I think that limit, like 5 or 10 megabytes, it's just text.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 5 megabytes or 10 megabyte limit. Yeah, we're fine with that. Especially if you did need more than that, you could use a method other than local storage, like IndexedDB. But yeah, we'd probably be fine with local storage for now. And the cool thing about it is when we build the model, so we build like the piece of our JavaScript that actually communicates with our data storage. So that will be the one that communicates with local storage, pulls data out of local storage, gives it to our controller. Our controller gives it to the view, and then the view renders the information. It'll be easy because we'll have our like the functions that actually receive the data. Those are easy to change later on. So let's just say, for example, everyone here was like, all right, we want to eventually bring this project over to backend and integrate like Node.js or another backend framework into it and actually attach a database to it and make this real. That's possible, and that'll be much easier, because we'll have like an isolated block of our code that's responsible for pulling data. So we could just convert it from like pulling it from local storage to pulling it from a server, basically. But yeah, so that's one idea I have, is just like building a couple fake dummy data. That way, when we do this function, render volunteer details, then we could actually render this page that we wanted to render to begin with. And then the last thing I was thinking of was, yesterday we started talking about how we actually going to render this page. Like, how are we going to pass in the ID? How are we going to use the ID to like load the correct page, that sort of thing. That's a little bit more on the intermediate / advanced, so we'll focus on that in the second half of the session. I'd say this first session we have a couple people like fix up this styling if they would like to, and then a couple other people do the JavaScript, or we could all do it together. I think doing it together would be cool too. Just move through it slowly, no rush, you know.
Agree.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So let me go ahead and create a live share link. For those who are new, live share is going to allow you to pop into my code editor. So I am hovering over the introduction to JavaScript. I'm going to open up the chat. I'm going to paste that link right there. Feel free to hop into the code editor and we'll start busting this out. Cool. Yeah, so we could do the styling first. We'll do the styling. We'll make a pull request, merge the styling in, and then everybody will choose a volunteer list object and everyone will create one. So I'll go ahead and like code up an example, and then just so we could kind of like do this fast and not spend a whole bunch of time creating dummy data, everyone could go ahead and just copy mine. And it might change, you know, so right here I have like requirements, that's an array with strings. That could change, but we'll just kind of go with whatever makes the most sense for now. So we got a couple people in here, Ricky, Liz, Javier, Avinko. All right, so basically what we want to do first is we have our core styling here. We have our universal styling. We have Angel added some utilities just to normalize our colors and our font sizes, which makes it a little bit easier. I want to have him explain what he did yesterday. If he comes in, I'm going to have him break this all down for everybody. And then we have our HTML and body. We have our body. Underneath that, we have our nav. We have our nav list, and we have our nav list item. Hover. So if you look, we have our nav, and we have our nav list item. Is there anything else in this style sheet that has to do with the navigation that we should pull up here? Feel free to take a look.
What about like the volunteer search stuff? Is that
volunteer search is, so we have volunteer search home is going to be on the home page. So yeah, I want to include that in the. And also something to keep in mind as we go through this CSS, if there's better names for this stuff, like volunteer search home, like I could just say right away, I think just like home container or home page just makes way more sense to me. Home container or home page. I mean, technically it's the home page that we're loading. So we could, let's do a page home, because yeah. And then if I go over to our main.js, I'm going to do page home. And then that way, for our other pages, we could also do page volunteer list and page volunteer details. And that's much clearer to me. So let's go ahead and I'm going to create this one, and then I'm going to expect someone else to go ahead and create the next one. So home page styling. All right. So besides this page home, is there anything else that goes underneath our home page styling? And you could check that just in our render home function in the main.js.
with the volunteer search home fall under that?
Volunteer search home. That would be
button.
on the next page.
Okay.
So the thing that steps out to me is these H2s right here, because if you look at our render home function from line 113 to 125, we do have an H2 here, but we also have an H2. Let's see. So we have an H2 in our volunteer list page. Yeah. So we have an H2 in our volunteer list page. So what's that for? We don't really know, do we? Cursor, pointer, text align center, font size, and let's go ahead and load this so we could actually like take a look at. So we have an error, cannot read properties of null, 124. Volunteer search.
Oh wait, did you change that name? Is that the one you changed to page home?
Volunteer search home, yes. So does someone want to go ahead and fix that one right there?
You do 2 underscores or 1?
2 underscores,
Yeah.
yep.
Just your preference.
Okay. There we go. All right, so we have our H2 on this page that says volunteer, and we also have our H2 here that says volunteer on our home page. So it looks like both of them are centered actually, and they're both centered because, all right, so let's go ahead and we have H2 input. So is there actually an input that lives inside of an H2? So this style is going to be applied to, let me see if this, I don't think that's actually doing anything. Yeah, that's not doing anything. So we had, this is going to target the H2 and the input, I believe, and it's adding display flex. And if you look at our H2 and our inputs, it doesn't change anything when I remove this. Let's go ahead and, so I know that on the home page, when we want this H2 to be a pointer, so we know it can be clicked. So I'm guessing that this H2 is for the home page. Does anyone want to go ahead and move this H2 just underneath the page home? Just to organize it up a little bit. Cool. Nice. All right. So I believe this is the only styling for our H2. The thing is, we have an H2 here, and then we also have an H2 here. And we don't want this H2 to have a pointer. So we're going to keep this styling just for our home card. We only want the pointer on our home card. And so we're going to just assume that this styling is just for our home card, not for this H2 on the next page. So let's go ahead and if you look at our render home function, let's go ahead and give this a class that we could style. call it like this is our volunteer card, but we're gonna have even more cards. Like we're gonna have nonprofit cards. We're gonna have like get services cards, and so we could just call this like card title, for example, like the card title class, something like that. That makes sense. We're actually not far from having this feature done. Like this feature is going to be done sooner than later as far as like all the functionality being wired up, and then we'll go ahead and like style it and make it look good. So we just need a class on this markup in the render home function on the H2, and you could go ahead and call it like card title, class equals card title. You got it, Javier. I see your cursor there.
Sorry, what was that? Class equals.
Card __ title. There you go. Card title. Yep. And then, all right, so you see how this div right here has an ID, and the ID is equal to page home? This class right here needs to be applied to this H2. So place the class inside one of these H2's tags, and don't forget the quotes around the name or the value of the attribute. I gotta start using like as accurate and precise lingo as possible just so everyone learns, so I'm not like confusing people. So if you look at the div, you can see this is the opening tag of the div because we have our less than and we have our greater than. The name of the tag is inside the less than and the greater than, and the attribute name is inside the less than and the greater than, and then the attribute ID equals quote page home. So the same way that this ID is inside the opening tag, not the closing tag or in between, we need this class inside the opening tag. I highlighted the opening tag.
Sorry.
No, you see, all right, so you see this opening tag?
Okay.
Parker's got it, but you're on the wrong element, Parker. We need it inside this H2.
Hey, Jim, I have a quick question about that.
Hey,
Hey, sorry, I just was a little busy.
no, you're
Didn't
good.
think he was gonna be that busy today. Speaking of what we're doing, line 116 through 119, all of that is HTML. Are we referencing that to line 115? Do you know? Because this isn't a .js file, which means it doesn't read tags, right? If from, I don't know, maybe, I guess it doesn't, but I guess that's the question, right? Does .js read tags? Because I don't know, it's a tag. It's not a it's not a JavaScript.
No, JavaScript is not reading a tag. JavaScript is reading a string. So
So that would be considered a string, line 116 through line 119.
yeah, because we have our template opening and our
Well, we
template
have-
closing. So we do have tags inside of it, but they don't become active until we inject it into main.innerHTML. Because this main.innerHTML equals markup. That means you're injecting this string into the inner HTML of main, and this is JavaScript. This is where the browser is actually doing this. So the browser is taking this functionality and injecting this markup into the inner HTML property, and then it becomes active live. It converts it from this markup into an actual object in the browser, so in your working memory. But JavaScript, no. Until you get to React. That's a little different.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Okay, that's fine.
Yes, good question. All right, so you see what Parker did. The same way we have our opening div tag, we have our closing div tag, we also have our opening h2 tag, we have our closing h2 tag.
Closing.
The attributes are always going to go inside the opening tag. So we just wanted to add this class card title. And now in the styles, instead of calling this h2, we'll go ahead and target it by its class, card title, and just change this h2 to card title, targeting it by class. Cool. There's only one thing wrong. This is targeting an ID. What's the class? The hash.
Dot.
Yes.
I was like, wait a minute, which one? And it was there.
Yep. Dot. There you go. All right. That's cool. All right. So the style is looking good. So we have our home page styling here, and then we need to do our, what comes next? Our volunteer search page. So underneath there, we have volunteer list page styling. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to change the volunteer search page to page. So the same way we did page home, we'll change this to page __ volunteer list, just to be more clear. I'm actually going to change this one to a class because we don't have to target it. Actually, we do have to target it by ID. So we're gonna have a class and an ID, just so we could stay consistent. And then, all right. So does everyone see how I added a class of page home and an ID of page home to our page container? Now we want to convert this container to, I'll add the class and someone can change the ID. So we'll do class page volunteer list. So someone feel free to go ahead and change this ID to match the class. So the ID we're going to use to target with JavaScript, and the class we're going to use for styling. If anyone was wondering why have both of the same thing? Because they may change too. So.
From what I can remember, I think if you want to add style to it, all you got to do is hashtag or put a dot, right? Hashtag would be for the ID, and then for class it'd just be a dot.
Yes.
So why do we need two class? Why do we need a class and an ID?
It's just more clear. You want to have separation of concerns. So you'll see, like, the deeper you get into programming, separation of concerns is going to be like a major concept that you learn. So if you target both with class and with ID, it's going to get confusing. And so when we transition over to more complicated stuff like React or frameworks, you're always going to be using the class for styling, and you're always going to be using the ID for JavaScript. So it's just good to get into that habit of looking at class as styling, ID as JavaScript. So class is CSS, ID is JavaScript. So we have our volunteer search page this used to be volunteer search page. Now it's page volunteer list. So does someone want to go ahead and change this style so we could target the new class? Page underscore underscore volunteer list. If you look at the CSS online, there you go. T's got it. Nice, nice. So page underscore underscore volunteer list. Perfect, perfect. You're just missing one underscore. Then you should be good to go. Cool. All right. So that works there. And then if we look at our main JS, next we have our H2, which if we come here, oh, no, the styles did not apply. So let's see. Page underscore underscore volunteer list. Page underscore underscore volunteer list. So let's see. We have our header, we have our inputs, and then we have our cards. So it's displaying right now as rows. You want to display as columns. So I'm going to challenge somebody to go ahead and say, how do I display my HTML as columns? So that was correct, T, the display flex, but there's another property. There's another flexbox property that you need to add just underneath this display. That's going to align it as columns. So basically, a nice search would be, how do I use Flexbox to display my elements in column? I think Liz already knows it.
I'm expecting it to give me my little
What's up, Angel?
thing. There we go.
What's up, Harold?
Hey, Jim. You might find the answer in the CSS itself if you look around.
Oh, sorry, T. Go ahead and
True.
type.
Actually, you got it. Yep. Flex direction column. And then display flex. Yep. Perfect. Nice, nice, nice. There we go. All right. So we're back in business. All right. So underneath our page volunteer list, we have our volunteer H2. I'm going to go ahead and just do, let me do like, I'm just going to call it header for now. And I'm going to say dot header. And I'm going to say font size. I just want to make it a little bit bigger. There we go. And I'm going to do text align center. There we go. And I'm also going to do margin. For the top and the bottom, just to give us a little bit of space there. All right, cool. 20 would probably be better. I won't play around too much though. That's good. We don't need perfection yet. We're just trying to make it look good enough. All right, cool. So what's underneath this header? What do we have underneath this header? What do we need to style next? Or what do we need to just place next?
Or you just want to change the search button to make it stand out a little bit more?
We're just organizing our CSS file right now just to make sure everything is like looking good. So underneath our header, we have our search div. So our search container that contains our inputs and our button. Actually, it doesn't even contain our button. I think it should. And we'll change it to a form later anyways. So we have actually, I think that's an extra div. Search input div. I think that was an extra div. Yeah. All right, cool. So now we have our search div, and we haven't added any styles to that yet. We have our search input, and we have our text inputs. So we have our search input, and then we have our text inputs. So does someone want to make sure our search input and our text input is like one after the other? I know our text input is like way down here for some reason, so we just need the text input just underneath the search input.
I'm trying to join the session right now. I could do it.
Yep. Do your
Do you
thing.
want? You said you want them to be like a column.
Not a column. We just no. I mean, this is cool for now. We're not like trying to do any major styling. We just want to like make sure the actual styles, the selectors are in order, so that when we go to style later, it's much easier. And I'm gonna change this to the class. Search input, text input is already set as the class. Perfect. And then we have our search button. Do we have styles for a search button?
No, but I can make one.
We don't even need any styles right now. Honestly, we just want to make sure it's organized, and then we're good. And then what do we have next? Volunteer card. Okay. So underneath our text input, we have our search results. No styles on that yet. Then we have our volunteer card. Tell me if we're out of order. I'm just going to go through these elements really quickly and tell me if anything in the CSS is out of order. So we have our volunteer card image, volunteer card content, volunteer card name, volunteer card location, and volunteer card description. Card, image, content, description. And we have our dot logo. So where is this? Was that just an element we used to have that we changed? Yes.
Is that synonymous with the image maybe that we're using?
Yeah, but I think it was just styling we had before. I think it was styling that someone added to target a different element that we used to have. So I'll just cut this out when we add the image. Because
I think Aditya, I think Aditya added that.
Okay, cool. No sweat. And then let me go ahead. We have our volunteer list page styling. And then underneath this, we'll do our volunteer detail page styling. So now you can see our CSS file is nice and organized. Looks good. You can see where everything is. If you're going to do any styling to the navigation, you know what's happening here. Main happening here, home. You could see where the styling is going to be happening. So this is a lot better now. All right, so let me go ahead, and I think I was on Aditya styles. So let me check the status, get status. We modified main.js and styles.css. I'm gonna go ahead and add all these files with get add dot to add all the files, git status. You can see these are now staged to be committed. So I'm going to do git commit with a message of organize CSS file. And then I'm going to go ahead and push it. So that should be good. And now if I refresh, we will add a DTS styles to volunteer search. Create this pull request. I'll go ahead and merge it in. And cool, we're good to go. I will go ahead and do git branch A to check out which branches we have. I'm going to switch back over to the volunteer search branch, and then I'm going to delete a DTS styles. That way I could start just from the volunteer search. So if I go to git checkout and go to volunteer search, which is the feature we're working on right now, and then I do git branch -a, you can see now I'm on the volunteer search branch. I'm going to go ahead and delete the DTS styles branch. So git branch D Aditya styles. It's deleted in our GitHub repository, so I can go ahead and delete it here. Now if I check my branches, you can see it's gone. And let me do a poll. I want to do a git poll so that I can make sure that my volunteer search branch and my local repository is up to date with the one that's in our GitHub repository that we just updated. And you can see with the git poll, I just updated my code here. So we're ready to start working on the next feature. And, well, not the next feature, but the next task. And so the next task is going to have nothing to do with the styles.css before we actually build the event listeners to navigate to the page that we want to navigate to. We're just going to create a volunteer list array with volunteer opportunities that represent our represent what we actually need. So you can see we need a name, we need an image. So I'm going to go ahead and add an image. This is where we could actually pull in like a dummy image for each organization, and we could actually start rendering images if we wanted to. We don't have to. I think that's still kind of outside the scope of this wireframe because it's starting to add, like, it's starting to become a hi-fi wireframe when you add image and styling, that sort of thing. We just wanted to get done mostly layout styling so that everything was laid out properly. As far as like adding an actual image, we could do that later. It's really not a big deal. Then we have our location. So I added a location object here. I'll go ahead and just add some dummy data. 123 Main Street. Rocky Hill, Connecticut 06067. I'm gonna create a, let's just say like suicide hotline, this nonprofit trains members of the community to pick up calls and talk to people. We'll just keep that for now. So we have main and main. What are we calling these? Do we remember? So we have a date posted, location, date posted. We could say created. And I'll just say new date for now. I don't need to actually create a new date there. This will automatically create a new date. And then I could just say like, we'll just say main for now. And same thing, I'll create an array. So like mental health. And Make sure inside the main that you create, you have like 3 tops. You only really want like 3 across. So I'll say like mental health and crisis hotline or something. I don't know. That's cool. So we have our description, which is gonna fit right here. Our mission. Mission is probably different, so we'll just add more than enough. Our mission is to ... do this. And then if we look at our details page, then you could start seeing like what else we need to add. So we need to add, this is going to be our description. We need to add cause areas, when, where, skills, good for, and requirements. So the same way you see T taking the initiative right now and kind of creating her own, feel free to create your own. Everybody go ahead and create your own. We'll get just like a nice working, because we're going to use this later to actually create like a class. So we'll create like a class, volunteer, opportunity, and then we'll be able to create instances of volunteer opportunities, but we'll do that later. We just want to make sure this is good so that we could actually load up this page. And we'll get into the event listener by today. Like if everyone could just bust this out really quickly, everybody go ahead and create. Yeah, literally what Liz is doing right now, copy and pasting mine. That way we have like a good number of different options, different pages, make sure it works with all of ours. And then, yeah, so let's try to bust this out within the next 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and I have descriptions. I have cause areas. I'm going to turn that into an array. Say, call it date hosted. I'll say new date too. We don't need any real specifics for that yet. When, where, we'll use the address, skills. I'll be more realistic. Oh, hold on, stop typing. There we go. Go ahead. So this, who's doing this one?
That was me.
All right, cool.
I'm confused. What are we supposed to be doing?
You see how everyone else is just building an object?
Oh, where are they getting the information from?
Just from where I was typing, right here. Like, just create one. Just random. This is just dummy data we're going to use to render pages. Yeah.
Yeah, I just like picked a shelter in my city, honestly.
Yeah, that's cool. That
Wait, so how
works.
did this get all weird? Was it a typo on my part?
Someone edited mine too. Yeah. just
Yeah.
randomly edited mine. Skills. Good for group. And requirements. All right, so if you look at mine now, I have all the ones we're gonna need to render all these pages. All right, let me know when you're done. I'm all set over here with mine. And then we'll start moving towards actually building this thing. I want to pull up a draw.io just so I can show you like a couple different ways that we could do this and then which one we're going to use and why. So,
Quick question. Your image file, was that just a generic?
I
Something
didn't.
you made up?
Someone else posted this here, so we actually,
okay.
yeah, we actually don't need any. I actually don't want any photos for right now because that just distracts us from. Yeah. And then, so these objects that we're creating, this is basically gonna guide us for what our form is gonna look like when we start working on another feature. So in a way, by creating these, we're kind of like planning for a feature where nonprofits can enter their own information and ask volunteers for help. But we also need it for this feature, so we'll have to, yeah. Yeah, this is cool. This is gonna be good. So that to-do is done. Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and just fix some typos if I see any. Cool. Yeah, just use a different ID than me too. Cool. That's looking good. I think the errors are coming from the object in front of you, Liz, so don't worry. Cool. Who did this one? Cool. Just let me know when you're done.
I'm all done.
Okay, cool. Which one is yours?
ID4 American Red Cross.
This one here?
Yeah.
ID ID4. Okay. Looking good. Date created. Main.
Okay, I'm ID 5.
Check out mine up at the top, ID 0. Parker, you're missing just a couple properties.
Okay, I'll fill it in.
Yep.
If we undo, are we undoing someone else's change?
No.
No.
Yes. If you do undo, then someone else may have typed in between. Yep. Yeah, for those who started before I finished up mine, feel free to pop up to the top with ID 0 and just check for the other ones. Check for the other properties. I added a cause area as a skills, a good for property. And then we'll go through and just tidy this up. You'll all like the event listener stuff too. Anyone new? What's up, James? I didn't see you pop in. Cool.
Hello.
Hey. Cool. And then who's this right here? Who's ID 1? We got that. Mission, description, requirements, cause areas, good for. Cool. All right, and then we got who's ID 2?
It's me.
Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and put your address inside an object. So we're doing location. And then address. Cool, we got that. Date created, cool. Description is just a string. Requirements, comma, cause areas. There you go. You could just copy my cause areas, honestly. I'll go ahead and copy mine for you. Just put that there. Skills, same thing. Requirements. Cool. All right, nice. I don't see anything missing though. Actually, you already have requirements. That's cool. Actually, I already had requirements too. Put it twice. Date created, date hosted, main, and mission. So those are the ones you're missing. There we go. All right, main, mission. Description, cause area, skills. I'm gonna go ahead and just fill in for whatever properties are missing from everyone else's really quickly. Okay. We have date created, date hosted. Main, mission, description, cause area, skills, good for requirements, cool. Date hosted, main, mission, description, cause, cool. Parker, you're good. And Cool. Awesome. And everybody has the object for location. All right, cool. Everything looks good.
Nice.
All right, so we have this object now that we're going to use. I'm going to go ahead and open up a draw.io, so feel free to look at my screen, and I just want to try to explain the different ways we could do this to you. I haven't explained this before, though, but I've done each one of these, so I'm going to give it a shot. Okay. All right. So basically, what we do is, let's say we create an element. And this element is our volunteer list page. This volunteer list page is going to have children nodes, right? So we're gonna have like volunteer 1, and these are our cards, right? Volunteer 2, volunteer 3, volunteer 4. Go ahead and add one more. Volunteer 5. Assuming that we only have 5 cards underneath our volunteer list page. So one way to do this is, if you look at our main.js, you can see on line 164 to 193. This is where we actually create a volunteer card programmatically. So we're building our volunteer card programmatically here. And so after we build our card, before we actually return our card, we could do something like, as you can see up top, we have our volunteer card. It's the container that contains like the image, the content, the name, the location, the description. And at the end, we could just do volunteer card dot add event listener, and we could do click, and then we could do like handle click. We'll just say handle click for now, and pass in the function. And so basically, if we do that, then we're adding an event listener to every single one of these. So each one of the cards is going to have an event listener attached to it. So let's just say this is our event listener. Can anyone tell me why this is not a good idea? Take a guess.
Is it pretty redundant? They're adding an event listener to each one. Can just one event listener handle X amount of volunteers, whether it's 1 or 20 or whatever?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what if we have like 100 cards? Are we going to add an event listener to every single one of these cards?
Yeah, that'll bloat the file a lot.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So instead of adding an event listener to every single one of our cards, the way that I just did it right here, yeah, because you're adding, not only are you adding this method, this line of code right here, so another execution, but you're actually adding this entire function of reference to every single volunteer card. So you're right, you're bloating up your code. So another way to do it is by using routing, which we're actually going to get to eventually. So when we're at like HTTP localhost port 3000. When we're doing this on a live server, we could end up doing like we could get like a query, so we could do like page equals home, and if page ends up equaling home, let me zoom in a little bit. So we could actually render our content differently based on what's being passed into the URL. So we'd end up like targeting our URL, parsing our URL, but instead of doing page.home, we would do something like ID equals 43. And so we would take our URL, we'd parse our URL, we'd grab this 43 off of it, and we'd use this 43 to render the correct volunteer details page. We're actually going to get to that. We're going to do this, but I want you guys to see this other method first because it's super important. So what we're going to do instead is, and I think this might be repeat code at this point. Let me see. Render volunteer list. And then our card. Yeah, so this is our new render card method, right? So we could actually get rid of this entirely. Sorry, Angel. I know you worked hard on it. Let me, I think I'm actually still on. Yeah, I'm still on volunteer search. It's okay, I'm working with you guys. All right. So if you look at our cards, we have this div called search results. And this div called search results is containing every single one of our cards. So since we have this div, and maybe there'll be 5 cards inside of there, maybe there'll be 100 cards inside of there. So what we can do, instead of adding an event listener to every single one of these cards that we render, because we don't know how many there's actually going to be and it'll end up being less efficient, we could just add an event listener to this div right here. So if you ever click on any one of these cards, we could use a method to find out which card was clicked. And so what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to, as we create these cards, we're going to take, if you look at our volunteer list, they each have an ID. And so what we're going to do, this one's ID 1, this one's ID 2, this one's ID 3. So what we're going to do is when we render our cards, we're going to add a data attribute to the card container. And it's just going to be data ID equals vol ID. So I'm going to go ahead and type it, but I want to erase it just to give everybody else an opportunity to do it. I'm going to do data ID equals vol.id. Because you can see that when we iterate over our volunteer list, we're going to render one card for every single one of the cards in the objects we just created. We just created like almost 10. So for each one, we're going to create one of these cards. And for each card, we're going to add the ID to the div. So if you click on this div right here, the event listener that was added to the search results is going to be clicked. It's going to trigger an event. But what we're going to do is we are going to basically, when you click on this card, you might actually click this content div. You might click this H4. You might click this H5. And so there's a method called called closest. I'm going to have you guys Google that in just a minute, and whoever finds the answer first, I want to hear one of you articulate it. But basically what closest does is, let's just say we click on this description here by accident, like not by accident, but we're just like looking at our cards and we go ahead and click on the description here. This closest method is going to bubble up our event to the div that we pass into closest. So the same way you do like get element by ID with like search results, or you could do like query selector with volunteer card. We're going to do dot closest with volunteer card. So if you click on this div, it's going to bubble up and stop at the card. If you click on this description, the event is going to bubble up and find the closest element, the closest parent that has the class of volunteer card. And so it doesn't matter if you click on one of the children, it's always going to work its way up. With the query selector, let's just say we ran like query selector header. That's going to start from, like, if you look at our HTML, that's going to start from here, the HTML. And then it's going to go to the body. And then it's going to go to the nav, the main, the footer, nothing there. And then it's going to work its way down. So it's slowly working its way from top to bottom until it finds that query selector. Query selector all is literally just going through the whole document tree. But with closest, instead of working top down, it's working bottom up. So you could click on one of the internal, one of the children, and it's going to work its way to the element that you pass inside of it. And then that way, we'll be able to actually target this data ID. We'll be able to target this volunteer card class, and we'll be able to pull the ID out of it. And then we'll be able to render the page based on the ID that we find. So go ahead and just do a quick search on dot closest. Just do like HTML, JavaScript, dot closest method, or do like dot closest event delegation, and just like try to find a resource on that very quickly. And whoever finds something and like finds something that makes sense, then let me know. I just want to hear, like, I want to see also you guys do a little research just to find it, but then I want to hear someone explain it too. Does anyone have any questions though? Because I've done this, but I haven't really explained it before. So this is my first time. I want to make sure I'm being very clear. I look and you're all just gone.
I'm reading right now. Just practical uses of the closest method.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So let me go back to the draw.io very quickly. And so I'm going to go ahead and draw this. So let's say we have, I want to remove all these event listeners because we're not actually going to use those. This is just, these are just our, let's assume these are our cards here. And our cards are actually inside of our search results method. But let me go ahead and just try to make this a little more clear.
Hey Jim, just quick question.
Yes.
So I thought our search results were going to pop up on the main menu.
They are. But we have to find the right one first, and then we'll render it.
Find the right one. You mean find the...
We have to figure out which card we clicked before we render anything. Because if we don't find the ID of the volunteer opportunity that we want to render in the details page, then we can't render anything to main. So step one is like finding out which one was clicked, finding out which one we're targeting.
But how do we know which one we want to target if we haven't really searched for anything?
By clicking. So if you come to Nonprofit Navigator, Let me go
Yeah.
ahead and refresh this and see. All right, so we have
Okay.
we have our longer list, right? So if you look at the suicide hotline, this is gonna have an ID attached to it. If you look all the way at the top, it has an ID of 0. So when I click on this card, I need access to that ID 0. When I click on this NSF NCD, I need access to this ID 2. Because this ID 2 is gonna give me access to this whole object. And I need this whole object to render that details page to the main.
So by clicking on it, it's gonna, in the background, it's gonna run the ID number.
Yeah, so basically what's going to happen is we're going to click this. It's going to create an event. The event is going to bubble up from whatever element we clicked. So let's say we clicked on...
So that's why we need a closest method.
Yeah. So we're clicking on somewhere in between the volunteer opening and the volunteer closing. So it's either going to be the image, the content, the name, location, or description. But if I click somewhere in between the border of this card, I'm going to be clicking one of those elements. But I'm going to be clicking one of the children. It's possible that I click the actual card, but it's also very likely that I click one of the children. And so if one of the children are clicked, I need that event to look for the closest element that contains a certain class that I'm looking for. So when I click on this, let's just say I click on the name. Let's just say I hover over, and what I actually click on is NSF, and it's the name. So it's this element right here. The closest method is going to, let's just say we do closest and we pass volunteer card into closest. Then it's going to trickle from this element to its parent element to the next parent element until it finds volunteer card. And once you reach this right here, we're just using closest so that we could trickle up to the element that has the ID attached to it. Once we trickle up to the element that has the ID attached to it, then we could extract that ID off of this element, and then we could use that ID to render the correct page.
Right. That's why we're using closest method.
Yes.
So everything you explained is everything I got from ChatGPT, literally.
Really? Okay. I want to hear, did anyone else find
It was a
anything?
good explanation, I think.
All right, cool. Does anyone else want to just like give it a shot to articulate it? Because I know if you're able to explain something, that means you really understand it. So I do want to give everyone else like a chance to, if they want.
I think the thing that I'm getting out of it is that it just makes it quicker for you to get your result because you're going from the bottom up.
So, sorry, God, I'm so sorry.
It's all right. That was it. That was it for me.
Okay, cool. Yes. It makes it quicker. It makes it more efficient. It makes it more accurate. Yes. Good job.
So I just want to add, like, from what I can understand, I'm seeing this through the user side of it, more like if the user clicks on the title or the date or the description, wherever the user decides to click on, it will take us to that part of the code. It would load only that part of the code first.
Yes, it's always gonna, as long as when we run closest, like let's say we do element.closest and we pass in volunteer card, then it doesn't matter which one of these cards we click. It's always gonna bubble up to this one right here. And each one of these cards has a different ID and the data ID, so it's gonna be a different ID that we get.
Yeah, but like, what if they decide to click on this nonprofit trains members of the community to pick up calls and talk to people? So if they click on that, they'll go
that's
to
the description.
that specific line of code, which is 247. It'll go straight there.
Yes. So the event,
Right. That's the closest method it's going to the closest method of that line, which
That's-
meaning that whole line is a method. It's going to go to the closest method, meaning that line is going to go straight to that line.
Yes, that's the event target. So what you'll actually do though is do event.target.closest, and then you'll pass in whatever class you're actually looking for. So whether you click on this one or this one or this one or this one, no matter what the target is, as long as you pass volunteer card into event.target.closest, it'll bubble up to this. It'll bubble up to the div that we need. So we'll be able to just grab a hold of the actual element that we need, because we don't care about any of these internal elements. We only care about the wrapper element that has the ID attached to it. So we'll be able to bubble up to that.
So my guess, we're going to have to create a block of code that will have name, location, description, and ID. And it will render, it's like a loop that will, I don't.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and type out some pseudocode, and then we can start working through it if y'all would like. So we have to do. Add.
Question.
Yes.
Okay, so basically, for this, you have to write code for every card, right?
No, you write code one time that targets every card. So the event listener is only going to be attached to this div right here. The search
the
results.
card itself, right?
Yes.
Each individual card has a description, and you're writing the description in code somewhere, right?
The description already exists. So if you come up to our volunteer list, we're getting the description from here.
Right, but you have to write each one of them.
Right now we're writing it just for like dummy data, but eventually the nonprofit company will just fill out a form to like fill out their own description.
And when they fill that out, what will it go to, like a database?
No, for now we'll just store it in local storage.
So it's stored in local storage, right?
Yeah.
Which is a database.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so now you're rendering the page with all of the descriptions. Somebody clicks the description, and I kind of understand. I think I understand what you're doing, but it's kind of like if you had a bunch of cells, you could do a for loop over the cells, get all of the IDs, and then when you have one event listener, you add it to the class of the cells that you enter, and wherever you click, you get the ID, so you could render something.
Yeah. So yeah. So I kind of went over that with the first method that we talked about was we could.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed it. Let me stop. I missed it.
Nah, you're good. You're good. So this is like a little hard to grasp too. So I'm happy that so many people are able to understand it. But basically what I was saying before was one of the ways is we could just add an event listener to every card. So we could do that. We could just add an event listener to every single card if we wanted to. But then we don't know if we're going to have 100 cards. What are we going to add 100 event listeners to 100 different cards? And then we're only ever going to use one of the event listeners. So we just created 100 event.
Not efficient.
Yeah, it's just not.
It doesn't matter because you're like, it's like in one of my applications. So I could have 1,000 cells, and then I don't write code to add an event listener to everyone. I'm only writing one. It's like a function. I'm writing like for each cell, add an event listener.
Yes.
So the for loop adds the event listener to every cell that I ever created. Something like that?
Yes, so that's one way we could do it, because what you're talking about is this map function we have here. This map function we have, for every single volunteer opportunity in the volunteer list. So if you look at our volunteer list, we have 1 volunteer opportunity, we have 2 volunteer opportunities, we have 3 volunteer opportunities, we have a whole bunch of volunteer opportunities here. So for each one of these volunteer opportunities, we map over that list and we render a card. And so during this render card function, which is just right here, we're just creating like a HTML content for that card. Yeah, we could add an event listener to each one of these cards if we wanted to. Yeah. So as we iterate over the cards, we could add an event listener to every single one of them. But then you're still creating an event listener for like potentially 100 or more cards when you're only going to click on one.
One more question.
Yeah.
So you're sending today's result to GitHub so we can take a look at it, right?
Yeah, every day I usually make like at least 1 pull request every day and update it. I sent you the link.
Yeah, I went to the link. It didn't have the latest stuff in it, so I might be looking at GitHub. I may not be looking at GitHub correctly. I don't want to take up everybody's time.
No, you're good. You're probably just here. I'll show you real quick. If you look at my screen, if you come over to the code, we have right now 2 branches. So if you click on the branches, we have our main branch and we have our volunteer search branch. Our volunteer search branch is our current feature. So all the updated code is on our volunteer search branch.
So you click that and you fork that branch. Okay, because what I'm trying to do is, like, I try to look at your code, and then I try to pretend like I never saw your code, and how would I recreate it myself?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I understand the concepts.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks everybody for your patience.
Nah, you're
Let
good,
me
man.
mute myself.
Thank you for your questions. All right, so basically what we want to do here is instead of adding an event listener to every single card, is we want to just add the event listener to this search results div. So we're going to say add event listener to search results. We'll just say search results. So we'll actually add it to this div right here. And since we're creating this markup in this render volunteer list, that means we actually have to create the event listener in here too, because we can't create the event listener before we render this. So remember that, how we added the show search results event listener. When you click on the search button, then we'll call this function. We can't add this event listener to this markup until this markup exists in the DOM, like in the document, and it's showing up on the screen. So once this shows up on the screen, we can add the event listener to this search results right here. Then we need, so we already have our render volunteer details. So we actually need to complete this function. So we need to build this out. Same way we have volunteer search details page 1. Basically this markup right here, I believe it already exists. Yeah, this is it all right here. So we could basically copy or cut this, paste it in here. That already exists. And then we need to, I'll just do it here since there's already a to-do here. Create function to handle click. So this is where it's gonna, this is the learning stuff right here. So to do, pull correct element from the event.target. To do pull ID off of the correct element, and then to do render volunteer details page. So this is basically, this will definitely take us all tomorrow. We'll be working on this all day tomorrow, basically. Let's this out. And cut this out. There we go. Cool. Who did that? Thank you. All right.
That was me.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
Cool, cool. So now this this render volunteer details is basically done. We do have to use this ID to find the correct volunteer. So we're going to pass in the ID into render volunteer details function, and we're going to use that ID to basically find the opportunity with the matching ID. When we find the one with the matching ID, we'll return that object, and we'll use that object inside this function to basically like fill everything in. So vol dot name or whatever. We'll basically fill in all the dynamic data. Yeah, so this is good. This is a nice this is good for like the end of the week. This is a really good thing to learn. And I would consider this not like easy stuff. I would consider this like a borderline intermediate and advanced. So this is like really good stuff to know. So hopefully everybody gets involved. Yeah, cool. Does anyone have any questions before we got about 10 minutes so we can hang out and just chat for a couple minutes. We won't start this now because it's definitely going to take us a whole session at least.
Yeah, I have a question, a practical question. Once we finish creating this app, are we actually going to host it somewhere?
Yes. Yes.
I won't make it tomorrow's class.
No worries, no worries. Yeah, we're gonna host it somewhere for sure.
I have a question.
Yeah, because this needs to be a project that everybody who worked on it is able to share with employers and that sort of thing. And we're a long way from being done, so we have like a list of like 20 features we want to add to this thing, and this is the first feature. So.
And when we host it, is there going to be a back end to it? Is it going to have a back end as well as the front end?
No, it's not going to have a back end. So this boot camp here, the newbie developer, is just a front end focused course. I'm actually launching a back end focused in a few weeks where we will start building like node applications and back end server type stuff. As far as this project goes, if someone wants to eventually move it into back end, we could do it. But yeah, the idea was primarily front end focused. Yep.
Okay, so the user, when they submit their data, we would be fetching the data from the web with APIs so that the information is available in the app itself?
No, so we're not actually going to be fetching the data from the web. What we're going to do, actually, that's what Aditya and I were talking about initially. We were going to create a backend server where we could just pull in like a whole bunch of nonprofit information. But upon further research on this API, the information that it returns is it's not detailed information. It's kind of crappy information. And the best one, there's probably some good APIs out there, but I figure for now, we'll go ahead and we'll just, on one of our future features, we'll create an opportunity, like a feature where nonprofit organizations could just fill out a form to create opportunities. Because just because a nonprofit exists out there doesn't mean that they're looking for volunteers. So we'll give nonprofit organizations like a form to fill out just to give information about the volunteer opportunities available. They'll click submit. That'll go to like some front end storage method. And then when somebody loads up this site, then it'll just pull from that.
Okay, another practical question, right?
Yeah.
So for newbie developers, right? So I see a lot of people are showing up, a group of people that's showing up, they're doing all the work, they're following everything, right? So 2 months from now, someone comes, they're a newbie developer. That means they don't know that's fairly complicated. I mean, not super, but fairly complicated. They
Yes.
have no idea what's going on, right?
Yes.
What do they do? Because I know you're doing videos. Because I looked at your videos, which is really helpful. You look at the video and you kind of find out what you did and how you did it. So if they're really interested, they can look at all of the videos by date, kind of find out what you're doing. Then they learn GitHub and they learn how to get the code from a specific date so that they can duplicate it and practice stuff.
Yes. Yeah, so basically I'm breaking this up into 3 different sessions. So instead of we're going to be doing 3-hour sessions Monday through Thursday. Our first 1-hour session is going to be Introduction to JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. So during that first 1-hour session, I'm going to try to keep it within the scope of just like introductory JavaScript, talking about arrays, sort of reading code, making sure everybody understands the code, just doing some basic HTML, CSS stuff. Basic event handling, basic like DOM manipulation, just like as entry level as it gets, and I'm gonna keep it within the scope. Then once we cross into the hour and we move from our introductory session to our intermediate session, that's when we're gonna get into a little bit more of the complicated stuff, asynchronous programming, making fetch requests, actually doing more complex manipulations to the DOM, more complex functionality, and starting to move into just like classes, instances of the classes, just like more advanced JavaScript stuff. And so that will be the second session. And then the third session will be advanced JavaScript. So we'll start getting into more of the advanced like web APIs, so the built-in functionality into the browser, architecture, routing, just more complex topics. And so basically before we go into the session every day, before I start the 3-hour session every single day, I have a couple tasks for introductory, intermediate, and advanced where I'm kind of like, I want to stay within the scope of that. So if you're brand new and you're like, you could come to all 3. You could come to the intermediate and the advanced too. That's what you're paying for. That's the newbie developer membership. You kind of like just show up where you feel like you fit in and where your skill level. But if it's too hard, it's not going to be engaging. Nothing is going to make sense to you. If it's too easy, it's also not going to make sense to you. And so there's going to be some people who just come for the introductory JavaScript because even the intermediate is just like might be, especially if they're brand new, like within the first 3 months. And then there's people who are going to be like way too experienced, who they're just like the introductory stuff is boring. It's moving way too slow, where they're going to be asking questions maybe like you're asking. And I'm like, hey, we're just talking about arrays here. You know, like maybe you want to come back for the second session kind of thing. So I'm trying to organize it in a way where, you know, after attending a couple sessions or a couple days, you're like, okay, I'm going to come to the second session every day, or I'm going to come to the first session every day. I want to have something for everybody. Yep.
One more question. I don't know if it would be useful. Maybe it would. But you will ask the question and you say, okay, this is, for instance, this is how you do it, children. This is the node. Research it for me and come back with an answer.
Yes.
Well, it would be nice when you hear a question like that and then someone did it and then they came back to explain it. What they did to get the resource would be nice. You have the question and then the person says, this is how I researched it to get my answer. Because I did something like, now I'm trying to use ChatGPT, like you said, and I was trying to do this. I didn't know what to do. And I asked the question badly because I said, how do you render multiple HPD pages to your index? And ChatGPT, it came back with something that was really interesting, but not what I wanted, because it came back and basically it showed you build the pages. Then when you build the pages, you do basically what we're doing with JavaScript to go out and basically fetch the pages so that when somebody clicks on a button on the main page, the new page appears. But you actually have to build a page, and that's not what we're doing. That's not what we want to do. We don't want to actually build 1,000 different pages and fetch them. We want to have one HTML page that has information in the JavaScript that's fetched to the HTML page. And I think that the reason that you do that is because they say it renders faster than building 100 different pages, which a lot of websites do.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, when your project is this small, how quickly it renders is, you really shouldn't be thinking about performance this early. That's like almost prematurely optimizing, where you just want to build it. You want to get something working, and then once it's working, if it does come to the point where it's not performing the way that it should perform, then that probably means that there's more people than you expected using your site, and that's a good thing. So at that point, you would start thinking about performance a little bit. Though we are going to be talking about performance in the advanced classes, so yeah, you're on the right track. You're asking some pretty advanced questions, so I like it. What's up?
The question I had is, so I noticed that we have the HTML, the CSS, and the JS, and they're all separate. Are they supposed to be on the same document, if you will, and we're just separating it for clarity's sake, or is that typically how you kind of build a website?
Say that again. Sorry, I missed the index.
So we have the three, right? The HTML file, we have the CSS file, and we have the JavaScript. The question is, I notice in some parts of today that there's some HTML within the JS file.
Mm-hmm.
Is that typically how a website is built, or is it more layered like a sandwich, between the HTML file, the CSS, and the JavaScript?
So it depends. When we first started building this out, all the HTML was in the HTML file. So what you're seeing here is not what it was when we first started. Like before, inside of the main, all this HTML that you see inside of the main, we had inside of our HTML document. So it's changed. It's changed several times over the course of building this project. But at the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to preference. A lot of it comes down to requirements, what you're actually trying to do. Eventually, we're going to be breaking this out into an MVC framework. So we're not going to have like HTML in the same file as our data. You know what I'm saying? Like we're going to have one file specifically dedicated to pulling data from other sources, whether it's local storage, database, API calls. We're going to have a directory that's just for views. So in the views directory, that's going to contain all of our HTML. And then as far as like our business logic goes, so like show volunteer list, or our business logic, like what is the application actually doing, that'll be in the controller. And the controller will be basically our main JS right now. So we're going to start like separating and extracting different things out of this main once it gets too complicated, and we'll start adding some real structure and organization to the website. But yeah, to answer your question, it's changed a lot. So like, is it supposed to be like this? We're kind of just going through like multiple different phases, just so everyone who was here from day one can kind of like experience several different ways of doing things. And also like the reason why we just have so much JavaScript in this file right now, what do we have? We're at 275. Just a couple days ago, we're at like 100 lines of code. Eventually it's going to come to the point where this is just unmanageable, where several of you guys are getting stressed out where you're like, I can't find this. Where is that? Like, once that starts happening, that's when we'll start extracting. I want you guys to feel a little bit of the pain of like, why are we doing things? You know what I'm saying? Too many tutorials out there are just like, do it like this. Just use React. React is the way to go. And it's like, why though? Nobody knows why.
Right.
So
right.
why is super important to me. So I want you guys to feel a little bit of it. Yeah.
Jim, one more
I
thing.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
One more thing. So this is good because it's good to understand why we do things. And I know that they use React now and everything. And vanilla JavaScript is not really going to be the way you're going to develop a website. But you need to understand it so you can use React. But the other thing that I found in real life, in real business, one of the big issues of any website, anything that you do, is the failure of documentation. So people who really understand why we do things and when we do it, it would be nice to have a readme file that those people who want to contribute, they say, I understand this. I know what Jim said when he said there's children and there's nodes and there's an object. If they could write it down, put it in a readme file so that a newbie person or even an intermediate person can look at it to understand what we're doing, why we did it. Because I know even as a professional programmer, this is the new language for me. And there's just so many things that I need to review or understand. And that's why I said, like, even when you look at a resource and you want to look at something as simple as, you know, append a child to the HTML file. You're a newbie, you don't know what that is. You don't know, understand it.
Yeah.
But if somebody documents, this is why you do this, they put it in a README file, I think it's just it's a better project for future people. Not for the people who are working on it every day or come every day, but for future people.
Understanding's sake, yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think eventually like the number of people who are working on this project might get too big, and like someone who's here right now, I'll offer like a free junior developer membership if they want to take over this and kind of like run the classes. I'm trying to figure out like a way to benefit the person who steps up and takes over this project right here, and then a new project will be started, you know, so this one will just like take a life of its own, do its own thing, and then there'll be a new project for like brand new people to start hopping onto. So I would like this to be like an incubator for projects as well, you know, for everybody who's attending and for just like opportunity to get involved with open source. And so you're right, James, having some way to document. I'm actually kind of working on something like that myself right now. I'm writing tons of documentation to make getting involved in open source projects easier. One thing I do want to say is though, like you said, you're using React. Like if you're building a real project in real life, you're using React these days. Not always. I was actually talking to Aditya earlier about this, and it's like the first thing you need to understand is the requirements. And if the requirements don't demand that you use React, then you may be adding unneeded complexity to your life. Like if you don't need React, you don't want to use React. I know people who build websites just HTML and CSS that look better than any of the websites I see that are React or Sass or like any of the higher level frameworks, and they just pure HTML and CSS, and they are beautiful. Like these people have amazing design skills. So like at the end of the day, you do have to ask, what are the requirements of the project? If it doesn't demand that you use backend, you don't need backend. If it doesn't require that you use React, you don't need React. You kind of, and that's something that I was telling Aditya too. Like when I first started hosting the in-person meetups, this guy I used to ask a ton of questions to, Jason. He's a solutions architect at Voya. And I used to always ask him, I'd be like, what do you think is better, React or Angular? What should I learn? And he's like, what are you trying to do? Even with front-end frameworks. And I'd be like, should I learn JavaScript or Python? And he's like, what are you trying to do? It was always, what are you trying to do? What are the requirements of the project? And you can't say what tool is the best tool for the job until you understand the problem you're trying to solve. Only when you understand the problem that you're trying to solve do you understand what tool is the best for the job. And it's not even the tool that's best for the job, because you could be like, oh, I could use React. But with React, let's just say we're deciding between vanilla JS or React. React isn't necessarily the best tool for the job, but there may be trade-offs that come along with React that you're just like, the trade-offs are worth it. where like there's pros and cons, but the pros and cons that come along with React outweigh the pros and cons that come along with. So there's pros and cons for every decision that you make. So there's trade-offs for everything. You know, that's something I learned early. That's something that like sticks with me, and it's something that I still struggle with it sometimes because the marketing is strong. The marketing is strong, man. There's so many, like, there's a small number of frameworks that everybody pushes, and it's just like, it's hard to get away from that, you know?
I also would like to see some people, especially some of these guys, they're really smart.
Yeah.
If they would post like some of their projects, I posted a couple of my projects. They're vanilla JavaScript projects, and I don't think the code is simple. It's not simple to understand, but it can actually be run because I have them in a website. You can actually run them and see how something works. Mine are basically test-based things like a match game. You're moving objects around. You're using event listeners. You're using for loops, switch loops, all kinds of different things. And the thing is, though it took me a long time to write them, I'm willing to share the code for a newbie. They look at it and say, oh, that's interesting. I would like to be able to do that. I've posted the projects.
Yeah.
I'd like to see other people who are smarter than me, or at least better, more experienced than I am, to also post their projects. This is a great group for, learning. I know that a lot of people will be looking for jobs or they have jobs. I don't know. I just know I've worked a long time, for a very long time. And I do kind of know what bosses ask you to do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I saw your projects. Thanks for posting those. I think as we grow the server, more people will start posting. But I got to hop over into the data structure algorithm. We're starting another event in a minute. So feel free to join if you do want to do the data structure algorithm event with us. Otherwise, I'll see you all tomorrow, and we'll build out the rest of this to-do.
Awesome. Thank you,
All
Jim.
right, have a good one, guys.
Yeah. Thank you. See ya.
See you, everyone.
Oh, yeah. Aditya was throwing some comments in here, too. I just saw a lot of people don't even know that React is just front-end framework. Yeah, I know. True. I know. More detail and more control. React gives you less control, and it handles it by itself. I prefer Angular just because of the how strict it is. Oh, Parker, you're old school, bro. You've been spending too much time on that Odin project, bro.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Oh, it works.
You know, but there's pros and cons of jQuery too, because if you go to like Stack Overflow or you search the internet for answers, everything in jQuery is already, there's answers for everything.
Oh yeah, like the Stack Overflow trends. You'll see all the frameworks go up and down, every single one of them.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. All right, cool. I'll see y'all tomorrow night. Have a good one, y'all.
See ya.
Peace. Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing?
So far, so good, yeah. Great day.
Cool. Oh man, I forgot to start that one. Let me cancel that. And all right, we got a few people coming here. Cool. Well, I did not realize it was 8:12. We were just talking, we got a nice feature we're about to be adding, so that was cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. Cool. All right, so we got Aditya, Daniel, Fernando, Liz, Nick. What's up? What's up? Give me just 1 second. I'll be right back.
Aditya as well.
Yes.
What happened?
No, because he named everyone. I just told him that you joined too.
Oh yeah.
All right. I looked at the problems when I chose them this morning, and I haven't looked at them since. So let me pull one up. I decided that I'm not even gonna do easies and mediums anymore. I'm just gonna spend time doing hard ones, and I know it's gonna probably take me like 2 weeks to do a hard one and see. So my method is I'm gonna actually look at like 3 answers. Like I'm gonna type the code and get 3 answers and understand them, and then I'm gonna try to like recreate one of them or just understand them. I just want to understand them because I was listening to this paper. I have this new application where I'm listening to like research papers, and one of the research papers that I was listening to was about deductive reasoning and working memory, and for you to like find a truth or find an answer, you need to improve your working memory. And one of the methods of improving your working memory was being able to chunk a large problem into smaller problems. And so that's going to be my main focus moving forward for the next, just for the indefinite future, is just hard problems. And
Isn't it like dynamic programming? Isn't it what it does?
that's one of the solutions. Yeah, dynamic programming is a strategy to solve medium and hard problems.
Which one? Oh, it's for the contest.
He was just asking if dynamic programming was like breaking a problem down into smaller chunks, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But
I mean,
Daniel, when you look at it at the end of the day, dynamic programming might be a piece of a hard. Like there might be like 2 or 3 pieces of a hard problem, and just one piece of it is dynamic programming, and the other piece is like traversing a tree, or like the hard problems are tough. It's almost like the hard problems are sometimes made up of like 2 or 3 hard mediums,
Yeah.
So, yeah. What's up, Aditya?
yeah. No, I was just saying that the thing about like dynamic programming is it basically is made up of 2 parts. One is the optimal substructure, and the second one is the overlapping solutions. So what you said was like a one problem could be basically divided into like multiple sub problems. So like dynamic programming, the concept goes is more like it's not exactly the nature of the problem is going to be the same even in sub problems. Like that's what dynamic programming. In dynamic programming, the nature of the problem doesn't change. Like for sub problems as well as for the major problem, the nature is the same. It's just that the computation is reduced. So that's what dynamic programming is like. Basically, because what you the logic which you're going to use, like the nature, like for example, let's say the nature of the problem is to basically find out the like all the length of the longest string in substring in a string with some kind of concept, like for example longest common substring or longest common subsequence. Now you have given like an array of 100 values. Now that's a long problem. Like you could say the nature of the problem is the same, but the input size of the problem is large for now. What you do is you basically break down the input size, but the nature of the problem is the same. You have to still find the longest common subsequence, but you're going to find it for like a small problem, like a smaller input size. That basically the smaller input size calculated longest substring you basically used to calculate the larger substring, Now, in this case, that second concept of dynamic programming comes into picture, which is overlapping subproblems. Now, if you don't have the overlapping subproblems, you won't call it a dynamic programming. It needs to have both the concept. That is, the subproblem solving the bigger problem, that is optimal substructure. And overlapping solutions is basically when you solve a smaller problem, you should be able to use that smaller problem logic into the larger problem. So that's the concept of dynamic programming. That's what I know, like what I understood.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, but then using dynamic programming is sometimes just one piece of the problem. That's what I'm saying. Like finding the longest substring or whatever you're saying, like that could be just one piece of the problem, and then there could be like other parts that need to also be solved. You know?
Yeah, you could say that. One thing which I've noticed in hard problems is like actually like couple of things which I've noticed is in hard problems, a lot of hard problems has an advanced data structure or an additional data structure which you need to think apart from just the problem.
Yeah.
For example, there are some problems where you need to think of an advanced data structure like a segment tree or a trie. So those are like advanced data structures. A lot of people don't know those concepts, but those you need to know along with like a dynamic programming concept or like some other uh, pattern. But you need to know how to use that data structure within that pattern as well. So that's what I've noticed in hard problems, and that's what like I'm trying to do. Like I know how try works, I know how segment tree works, but I need to get like try I'm used to, but segment tree I need to have more application because it's kind of tough to grasp segment trees.
Yeah. Copy that. Cool. Tomorrow I'm gonna dedicate 3 hours to solving a hard problem. Hopefully I could come to tomorrow's with one of the hard ones. And solving it is one thing, but then actually articulating it and communicating it to other people so that they actually understand it is like a whole nother problem in itself. Simplifying complexity. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So we'll start with, did anyone solve any of these problems tonight? Who has the
Let's
easy
solve
one?
the easy one.
Let's check that out.
The
So
2
we
out
have-
of 3 solution. Shall I share my screen then?
Yeah, you could go. You want to go over the problem? I was gonna read it, but you could do it if you want.
No, if you want to read it, I can read it too if you want. Like, I can read it on my screen.
Yeah, do your thing.
So let's do the description. Given 3 integer arrays, nums1, nums2, and nums3, return a distinct array containing all values that are present in at least 2 out of the 3 arrays. You may return the values in any order. So basically, the idea here is, let's take example 1, right? You have these 3 arrays here. It's always 3. And the output is 3, 2, because 1 is present in array 1, but it's not present on the other 2. 3 is present in the first array, in the second array, and the third array. So it's fine because it's at least 2. 3 is at least 2. Number 2 is present in the first array, in the second array, but not in the third array. But it is 2, so at least 2. So that's why those both of them are in the output, just like it says here. The values that are present in at least 2 arrays are 3 in all 3 arrays, and 2 in nums1 and nums2. So it's pretty straightforward. I'm not sure. It says my solution was pretty good. It's ON, and I believe the space is ON, but the space is not so good for obvious reasons. You'll see. But I'm going to show. Did everybody get the problem? Do you understand the problem?
So you're basically making sure that an element. So like if we come across 1, then that 1 needs to exist in at least one of the other arrays. There's always going to be 3 arrays.
Yeah, always going to be 3. Like given 3 integers, you have 3 parameters.
How many elements in each array? 100.
Doesn't matter how many elements. Like it can be as many as 1. Just it says here.
100.
100, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, if you have a number, it has to appear at least in 2 arrays. That's it. It could be more. It could be 3 or 2 or 3. But if it only appears in 1, like this one here, number 1 only appears in nums 1, then you're out. The same here, 2, 3, and 1. They're present. Like 2 is present in nums 2 and 3. 3 is present in nums 1 and 2, and 1 is present in nums 1 and 3. And of course, if it's empty, no value is present in at least 2 arrays, so you return absolutely nothing. So I don't know if the way I did it was the most efficient way, but I'm gonna try to explain what I did. So out of the blue, I just, this problem to me just screamed set. I was like, okay, this is probably a good opportunity for set because we're talking about, duplicates and all that. But basically you have to have duplicates, right? What I did was I created a set containing numbers from all arrays. So I basically spread all the numbers from all the arrays. So if we console log set, so set all arrays, and I do that. Let me open the terminal again. I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. And I do node 232. You're gonna see, like, for the first problem, it has 1, 3, and 2. So it has 1, 2, and 3, and 2, which are all the numbers, but without repeats. And for the second problem here, it's also 3, 1, and 2 without repeats. So basically, I want to have everything in a set. That's what I did. So after that, I said, okay, so I'm gonna, because it's gonna be easier to deal with sets than arrays, I'm gonna create a set for each array. So I created a set for nums 1, nums 2, nums 3. Because for me, it's easier to check this way. And I also created a counter. So right now it's kind of obscure, but here's how it works. I looped every character in the like the big set, right? So basically this set has all the numbers, and we're gonna check if the numbers exist in the other sets. So basically I check if each individual set has a character. If so, I add 1 to the counter. So basically I check if set 1 has the character from this big set. I do the same for set 2 and the same for set 3. And if the count is less than 2, that means that we don't have at least 2. So what we do is that we delete the set, the character from the set, which is going to be our result, right? I just delete. So let's say 1, this one here, right? We check it. Okay, is 1 present in the set 1? Yes, it is. The set 1 is going to be 1, 3, 2. Is set, so the count is now 1. For set 2, is 1 present here? No, it's not. So it's not going to increase the counter. Set 3, is 1 present here? No, there's only one number, 3. So whenever we get here, count is going to be 1, which is less than 2. So we're going to delete this character out of this big set. And we do the same thing for the other numbers. Just remember, I say big set, but it's only 1, 2, and 3, right? So 1 is not there. We delete it. So now the set has 2 and 3, and we have to check all over again. So let's say it's going to check 3. So does it exist in set 1? Yes, it does, because we haven't really done anything with it. Because remember, it's going to be 1, 3, 2, a set, right? Doesn't have duplicates. It's there, so we count 1. For the second one, does it have 3? It does. So another increase. For the third set, is it there? Okay, so increase. So we have count equals 3. So we're not going to delete this character. This character is going to stay for the result. But we're going to reset the counter for each iteration, because otherwise you're going to have like 2, 5, 7. We don't want that. We just want to see like from 0 to 3, right? And of course, let's test 2. For this set, we have 1, 3, 2. It's present, so count's going to be 1. It's present here, so count's going to be 2. It's not present here, so this is not going to run, and count's going to be 2. 2 is not less than 2, so we do not delete the character. So at the end of the day, we have a set that is 2 and 3. We just deleted the 1, and I can confirm that by running the terminal command here. And of course, the output is a array. So all I do is I spread the set in the array and return it by using the spread operator. So that's what I did for both of them. I submitted it, and it says that seems to be decent. Of course, I didn't expect a good memory because I'm creating like 4 sets, and worst case scenario, there's like no duplicates. Sorry, worst case scenario, the numbers are present in at least 2 of the arrays, so you don't delete anything. So I believe this is ON for time and ON for space. But yeah, I would like to know what you guys think of this solution. I know it's not like the most beautiful solution, but it works. And how would you improve that? And also, if any of you did not understand the problem or the solution.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Anyone?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like it.
Oh, thank you. I didn't really like the idea of creating 3 sets, but that's how it occurred to me. There must be some other smarter way, because you have to iterate, right, through nums1, nums2, and nums3. And having to loop like 3 times, it would suck, because you could technically not have any of that. But you have to iterate through nums1, then a for loop for nums2, then a for loop for nums3, check if it's present, maybe in a frequency mapper or something like that. Kind of a pain. And I feel like with the sets, it's just easy, like has, delete, this is easy to read, but it's not like space complex is not the best one, of course, because I'm creating the same data like 3 times, except of course I did it on purpose because it helps me, but there must be other ways. I'm sure Aditya or Fernando probably have something more efficient, maybe manipulating bits. I don't know.
With something this simple too, though, I don't even like the efficiency is not really as important as for the easy ones. But if I did have to prioritize time or memory, I would definitely prioritize time. That's just me personally, because I think time is more expensive than memory.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's really small. It's like 100, right? So
yeah.
But yeah, that's my solution, guys. Any feedback regarding that?
No, mine is like, I mean, it's not different for complexity, but mine is like pretty short code. I use the concept of sets actually. I mean,
okay.
So mine is like, I'll show you. So can you see the solution?
Yes.
I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and see yours, okay?
Yep.
Let me check. Okay, it's Python, right? Okay.
So basically same, creating 3 sets, but I'm basically calculating the intersections between every 2 set and just checking the union condition.
Yeah.
Like, so if I'll get the intersection from this intersection from this or intersection from this. So, and that would be my result basically. That's it.
So, cause yeah, I don't know, I don't know Python's notation.
No,
In JavaScript, the single ampersand is a binary operation, right? So is
yeah,
it not in Python?
I mean, there should be an operation for in JavaScript as well to calculate the int. Yeah, there is an intersection function.
Mm-hmm.
You can get intersection as well. So intersection with set. So that will give you like an intersection. So using this, and there should be a union function as well. So that's what I did. I mean, the thing is, if you see like they are asking like just 100 input size. So, and this is, I would say this is like O of the number of elements in each unique elements in each set, in each array, basically. That's the space complexity. The number of unique elements in each array, that would be the space complexity, and the time complexity would be like O of the minimum length of any of these three set. Because when you intersect, like when you do the intersection of set 1, set 2, the just complexity of this intersection is O of the minimum length of set 1 and set 2. Like whichever the minimum length is, that would be the intersection.
Okay.
So if you apply for both, and this basically it's or means that is doing like it's not like it's doing it like plus, so it's not multiplying the complexity, it's just adding the complexity. So in that case, it would be like minimum of any of the set length. So that's what I think, the complexity. Worst case, it would be like O of n, like O of all the elements of the set. But that I don't think it would go beyond that. So I'm not sure if you could do it in like any better than this, but yeah.
Yeah, but I don't understand like you're this set 1 ampersand set 2. What does it do exactly? Like
Just getting the, I mean, basically, it's just getting the intersection of these two elements, like the
but
array.
is this something in Python or in programming
Or in
general?
Java, so I mean, set union, set intersection functions are like, they are like very common. Those are like the basics of computer science, which like I mean,
Yeah, I
it's-
graduated in economics. That's why I'm asking.
yeah, but I mean, in economics as well, like the Venn diagram and all, like you would have had to actually use that to find like some distribution. Like Venn diagram is something, that's the reason I never try to, I should have questioned it, but like I never try to question the set operations. I don't use them frequently, but I think I had to use them because they asked it, but I don't use this. But I knew that you can get the intersection function, which is just O of n complexity. That's the reason I used it.
Okay, I still don't understand it though. Like, there's anyone who can try to explain this to me then?
Yeah, you should be able to find like how intersection works. I mean, just search in Google, like search how.
I know how intersection works, but I'd like to understand the syntax, like what's going on, like
Oh, the syntax.
step
Okay.
and the steps and all that.
Okay, so what I'm doing is basically I'm just converting these into sets.
Yes.
Then like okay, when I do set 1 intersections and ampersand set 2 means set 1 intersection set 2. So what it is doing is, let's say set 1 has elements 1 1 3 2. Okay, now set 1 will not have duplicates, so it will still 1 3 2 basically, you could say.
1 3 2. Okay.
Yeah, because it's a set, so it won't have duplicates, it will remove the duplicates. And let's say set 2 has 2 comma 3. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now I mean, what intersection does is basically it basically find out the common elements in these two sets.
Okay.
So you want to know how it does?
Okay. Just a moment. You said set 1 and ampersand. It creates the intersection. So, but 1 is not present in nums 2.
Yeah. So this will basically create like
So why is it 1, 3, 2, and not 3, 2?
no, set 1 has 1, 3, 2, right?
Yeah, it has 1, 3, 2s. That's the set 1.
Yeah.
And set 2. Oh, okay. I thought you were saying that the intersection of set 1 and set 2 was 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2.
No,
Okay.
no. This is set 1, this is set 2, and the intersection would be
Okay.
1, 3.
Yeah, makes sense now. Okay. So that's intersection. Okay.
Yeah. And then this is like, so when you do this intersection, now 2, 3. Now find the intersection. So they have said like contain the values which are present in at least 2 out of the 3 arrays. Now get the intersection of these two, set 2 and set 3. Now what would be the intersection of set 2 and set 3?
3.
3, okay, yeah. So I would say 3. Now what would be the intersection of set 1, 2 and 3? Means
1, 2, and 3, or 1 and 3?
Sorry, 1 and 3, sorry.
Yeah.
1 and 3.
1 and 3? 3 and 2.
3, no, only 3, right?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I read the output. Sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Now basically take the union of these elements. What would you get?
2, 3. Okay,
Yeah.
so that is the vertical bar is in union. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. Yeah, because I'm not really familiar with the syntax.
Yeah, I know, understand. So this is union, and this is intersection. Actually, you could write like this as well. There you can basically, I think it's like this: set 1 intersection dot intersection set 2, like this. I think you can do it. I'm not sure, but I usually don't write all these steps. I basically just
Yeah, I'm sure Python makes things easier, right?
Yeah,
It has some
Python.
methods. That's why they use it for data and all that.
Yeah.
If they use JavaScript, they're gonna get error undefined or not a number.
Yeah, I believe these are like binary. You use those symbols to work with binary numbers in JavaScript. So I see why you're a little confused with seeing the ampersand and the
Yeah. So if
Exactly.
you use them with integers, then they will basically give you like the binary computation. Okay, not binary, but like they will work kind of like a bitmap, bit function. When you use them with like sets, like classes, like or like collections, so you
Objects.
call this as collections. So they work
Is that
as
what you call in Python, collections, or do
No,
you
no.
say objects?
No, collections is like a general term for like sets, arrays, and all. So whenever
Okay.
someone asks you like what exactly is a set, like you call it like it is a collection. What is
Okay.
an array? It's a collection. So that's what like when it comes to collections, these operators work differently. When it comes to integers, these operators work differently. So yeah.
And I assume the list is array, right?
Yeah, list is
Okay.
array. Yeah. So
Okay.
here like there is no concept of like static array or dynamic array. Everything is dynamic.
Okay.
Thank you. Looks like someone
Thanks for
else
explanation.
joined. What's up, another sloth? Man, these names.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, sorry I joined in a little late.
No, you're good. You're good. We're just going over the first problem right now. We're going to move to the second problem. I don't know if you know where we post the daily problems, just in the problem of the day channel. So we do that Monday through Thursday, and then we meet here at the end of the day. Did anyone else have the easy problem that they wanted to share?
Just before we do that, Aditya, is your big O notation ON as well?
Yeah, it's ON.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, there's definitely a way to do that where I think regardless it's always going to be O of n space. Like there's a way to do it with less sets, and just having like
But still
it's still going to be O of n.
Yeah, even if you use as many sets, like unless you are not using like a set of like a 2D array or something, only then it would go to n square. Otherwise, it's still be O of n.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. There's definitely a way to do it where it's O of 1 space 2, but that the time complexity of that would just be ridiculous. It'd be so complicated. I wouldn't want to do that anyways. I value time over space. But all right, cool.
It depends, Jim. It depends. Like I know you don't. But like, I've seen companies like going crazy with just space. Space is not cheap.
I know, but time is money.
Time can be compromised, but because time is more about like you can kind of have like let the business users know that okay there would be a delay in receiving the value or something, but space, if you don't have space, then what's the point of even like doing the computation?
True. If you don't have enough space, you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't have enough space, then what's the point of even like looking for the time, because you don't have the space to even store your results, so what's the point of even checking the time?
I know. I know. I know. I just feel like space is I just value outside of the context of computer science, just time is so important to me. Time is vital.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It all depends, right? It all depends on the
Yeah, it all
requirements.
depends on
Yeah.
what the requirements are. Again, what the requirements are.
Exactly. I love this. We got to get deeper in this it all depends conversation. Create an event called It All Depends. All right, cool. Did anyone solve the medium?
I haven't.
I did it.
You did it?
Yeah. I can explain.
Path.
This I think this would be bit masking.
Path in a zigzag labeled binary tree. All right, let's check it out.
Okay. I'm going to.
Adit, yeah, you're still sharing your screen if you don't need to.
Cool. Let's see. Oh yeah, this was the one that we were talking about a little bit yesterday, right? With the reverse, if it's if the height is even, it starts from the right, goes to the left. If it's odd, it starts from the left and goes to the right.
Oh god.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. This one was interesting. Did you end up coming up with a mathematical solution for it, or are you actually traversing?
Yeah. So in the problem, it's just they give us this kind of tree, so you can start with 1, and after you go to 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's like you are making this zigzag form for each level. So the next one is going to start from here, 16. But in the problem, they give you this a label. So it's just one value, like they give us like 14, and sorry, the path is from 14. The path is 14, 4, 3, and 1. So that's the path. So we have to return these values in the path. So I just noticed that in the best case, if this tree it wasn't in this way, you can just get these values by dividing by 2. So I mean, like 14 divided by 2, you can have this 7, and 7 divided by 2, you can have this 3, and 3 divided by 2, you can reach this one. But that isn't the case, because these values are not matching. But this can be reached by noticing this the power of 2, this level by 2. So I mean, The level 1 is just 1. The level 2 is going to be 2. And the next one 4, and so on. So the equation that I just found, I'm going to use this one.
Just one question before we keep
Yeah.
going. The zigzag aspect is the fact that sometimes the greater value is to the left and sometimes it's to the right for each depth.
About the values, do you mean if the largest values start from the right?
Yeah, because it's about zigzag, isn't it? What the problem's about zigzag or something like that.
Yeah.
Zigzag, yeah. So that's what they mean by zigzags. Like sometimes a value, like a higher value is to the left, sometimes to the right. Like for example, this the depth 1, 3 is on the left and 2 is on the right. 3 is bigger than 2. But if you go to the next depth, 4 is to the left and 5 is to the right, and 4 is smaller than 5. So it's inverted, right? So is that what they mean by zigzag?
Oh, I was thinking that it means like you start naming the nodes or putting the values, like you start from this part, from the root, and you go to 2, and after
Okay.
you go to 3, and you go to 4 and 5, 6, 7, and 8, 9,
Yeah,
10. Yeah, it's like you go in naming the nodes in zigzag. So
but
that
in essence, that's what it's doing, right? In essence, what it's doing is like it's switching left and right for each depth.
oh, I'm doing that but to find this the solution, but for the problem, I think this is named in this order.
Okay.
Because yeah, as you say, it could be just invert this
Yeah.
value. The correct order, it could be just say 1, 2, and 3, and this is correct because it's 4, 5, 6, 7, and the next time it could be start from here with 8.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah,
like
it's like, yeah, it's inverted. Yeah, you
it's
can.
like it's decreasing, increasing, decreasing, increasing
Yeah,
from left to right. Yeah.
that's another pattern that you can think. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I just realized that also because if you notice, if this is 14 divided by 2, you must have
Mm-hmm.
7, but 7 is in the other side. So how can we reach this value 4? So that's what I was thinking. Yeah. So yeah, so that was the yeah that was the idea of my solution. Yeah, as you were saying, it probably could be inverted. Yeah.
Okay.
So if it's inverted, that means like this. Um, I need to find this 4, but I just have this 7 there in some correct order because this upper level is inverted. So in order to do that, I notice that if this is the upper level, 14 divided by 2, it's 7. I need to find um, the next value. So the equation that I found is just I need to start from this, but on this level, uh, the next value it needs to start from 8. Like this, from 8, and this start from 4, like this, and then in the previous one start from 2. So if this starts from 8, I just need to know that I must subtract some value to 8 to reach this 4. And this is just the previous value, that is 14 divided by 2 is 7, minus 8 divided by 2. That is the current level. That must be the next one, 8. That is just 4. So 4, it must be the star on this level. So it's 8 divided by 2, that is 4. So 7 minus 4, it must be just 3. And the next star is 8. The next star is 8. So we just need to subtract this value. It's just 7 minus 4 is just 3. Minus 1 is minus 4. And 8 minus 4 is just 4. So what I'm doing is just take the next level and divide it by 2. That's going to be 4. And the current label, that's 14, and I'm just dividing by 2, and I'm going to have this 7. So I just taking this and this, and I know that I'm going to have with this one, this value is just 7. So I have 7 like this. So it's going to have 7, and this is going to be 4. So that is just 3, and 8 minus 3 is 5. But I need.
Can I ask a question really quickly? Where are you getting the 8 from? So I know where you're doing the 14 divided by 2 to get the 7, which is like the opposite side of what you need to get. But where are you getting the 8 from? Like, how do you know that it's 8? Yeah, how do you know that it's 8 that you need to divide and subtract?
The 8 is the next value, or the current value for this 14. It's like this 14 is starting from 8. It's like just take the start. So for 14, it must be 8.
Oh, 8 to, because 8 to 15 is 2 to the 4th power or whatever.
Yeah, it's like just 2 power of 3 in this case.
Yeah, so 8 to 15, the integers 8 to 15 is also equivalent to 2 to the power of 3 to 2 to the power of 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And like for the next value, like 4, is going to be just 4 is the star, so it's just going to be 4. But if we have like in this case like we have for this one we are going to have 16, 17, 18. Like if we have 18, the next star is going to be 16, because 16 is going to be the next power, the next power of 2 to 4. Yeah. And how we can find this? is just take the current level. You start with 1 and just multiply by 2 until we reach some value that is greater than the label. So that means this is going to be like for 14, you start with 1. 1 is less or equals to 14. Multiply by 2 is still less or equals to 14. Multiply by 2. 4 is still less or equals to 14. Multiply by 2, you have 8 is still equal or less than 14. But if you have to the next one, that is 16, 16 is not equals to or less than 14, so you stop in this part. So I just doing this while operation to find this which is the level or the power that we have for this value. So yeah, I'm just trying to know where is the starting point for this current label. So in this case, it's going to be 8, because if you put 16, 16 is not the start to reach this 14. So yeah, I'm just trying to find this. I think the name is it's not. It's bad because probably this can be just like a start, the starting point, like something like that, because you can start from 2, 4, or from 8. So yeah.
Yeah. What is exactly a label?
The label.
Yeah.
The label is this value. The label is just the value that is assigned to each node, like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5.
The label is the value of the node that we're supposed to traverse backwards from.
Okay.
Yeah. So if they gave us, if the label
yeah.
that they passed into the function was 10, then that means we need to work back from 10. So the answer would be 10, 6,
2, 1.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Because I didn't really read the problem that much.
Yep.
Yep. So yeah, we need to take that current starting point. Like, I think I'm going to change this. Like.
So Fernando, so I understand you're basically you start with 1, right? And you keep how do you say that, powering by 2?
Yeah.
Until you get until a number that is less or equal than the label, which is 14, right?
Yeah.
And eventually you get to 16, which is higher. So you fall back to 8, like to the previous one.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the level you should start traversing.
Yeah, that's the starting level in that. Yeah, that's the starting level in that level. So
Okay.
In that, I mean, in this row, or they call also a level. Yeah, that's the starting point. Yeah.
So okay, so can you please go back to the code? So after all is done, from line 6 to 8, start is going to be 8, and level is going to be 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm not using this. I'm not using this.
You're not using, okay.
Yeah, it's I just use this variable to just figure out in which
To debug.
yeah, or in just to know which was the high of this tree. Like this is just 1, 2. I think from starting from 0, 1, 2, and 3, and just probably I was trying to use that to power this starting point, but yeah, it's just without this variable is working.
Okay, so after you find that you're supposed to be on level 3, or your starting point is 8. So what happens then?
Yeah. So once I know this is the starting label for this 14, I just take this starting point, and just I notice that we need in order to reach to 4, because if you try to go to the upper level, you can just take this 14 and divide it by 2, but you are going to have this 7.
Oh, I think I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
So basically what you're doing, like for that line there, you have the first line down there, 8 minus 1 minus, no. The first division is that you're dividing the last node you want to traverse from, right, by 2. And then you're subtracting it from the start point, divided by 2. So that would be 7 minus 4. That would be 3.
Yeah.
And then this minus 1 would be kind of like, okay, I want to go 1 depth higher. And then when you subtract it by 8, you get the number where you should go. Kind of like that.
Yeah. It's like I just found this
this
you can
pattern.
say that like that, but I just found this is like a constant that I found to reach this value. It's like
Yeah, but I feel it's significant because you're traversing by 1 depth, right? By 1 level.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I would never figure out that though.
I think you can if you practice just I think it's like deduction. Yeah. It's like if it's like I say if this were in inverted, like you mentioned, the correct order is just going like this. For 14 divided by 2, you have 7. 7 divided by 2, you have 3. And 3 divided by 2, you have 1. So
yeah,
like
if you're like dividing it and using like something like Mathlore, right? I don't know what it is in Python, but
yeah, it's just it's inverted. So
yeah.
So we need just to figure out the way we can just move this one. Sorry, move this one to this one. So yeah, so you just need to take the starting point and just subtract the difference between the result of dividing 14 by 2 minus this starting point divided by 2. Yeah, it's like
because the difference between 3 and 1 is 2. The difference between 7 and 3 is 4. And the difference between 14 and 7 is 7. So if you get like 2, 4, 7, it seems to be increasing like 2, 4. So between 2 and 4, like between 2 and 4, it's 2. Between sorry, I said between 1 and 3 is 2. Between 3 and 7 is 4. And between 7 and 14 is 7. So there must be some kind of pattern there.
Yeah, check this
with
out. Check this
increasing.
out. Go down to the formula real quick, Fernando. So the 8,
Yeah.
8 minus 1, 14 divided by 2, 8 minus 2. So that 8, he's getting that 8 from just the level that he's starting at. Like the last 8. So the 8 divided by 2, he's getting that from the level by 2 method to find out like where this line is starting at. And then the 14 is the label. So let's say that the label was not 14. Let's say the label was 10.
Sure.
So 10 divided by 2, what's that?
5.
All right. And then the starting, that line starts at 8. So what's 8 divided by 2?
4.
So what's, all right. So now we have 5 and 4. What's 5 minus 4?
1.
What's 8 minus 1 minus 1?
6.
All right. So the number that we started with was 10. What's the next node up?
So it's gonna
6.
be, it's gonna be 4. I know, but
No. It's 6. So we started at node 10, and the next node up is 6.
No. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So 8 minus 1 minus
telling
1
the
is
other
6. So yeah, that's the formula. It's a formula that uses the starting point of the height and the label to figure out which node. Yeah. I like that. That's slick. Let's say we have 15 though. 15 divided by 2. 15 divided by 2, and you're math flooring that, Fernando, right? 14 divided by 2, but if it was 15 divided by 2, you're doing a math floor. So that would still be 7.5, so that'd round down to 7.
Yeah.
Right? So 7 minus 8 divided by 2, so 7 minus 4, that's 3. So 8 minus 1, 7 minus 3, 4. Yeah. I like that. That's slick. And then
cool.
and then you just change when you go to 4 from that, then you just figure out what the starting point of that line is, right?
Yeah.
So you reset the starting point of that line and you use the same formula over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
could you do it with recursion then?
You could, but it wouldn't be as efficient. It would,
Okay.
Yeah. The mathematical formula is definitely, because the mathematical formula, time complexity is just O of H, whatever the height of the label is. So if the height of the label is, let's just say the label that we're given is 14, that's a height of 3. So that's O of 3. That's super efficient compared to if you did recursion. I guess recursion, it would still be time complexity would be still O of H, I think, but the space complexity would also be O of H. So it'd be
it would be a nightmare.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a nightmare. It'd still be doable and workable depending on the constraints. This is just the easy problem, so it'd probably still work. But yeah, it's definitely doable. It's just not as efficient and it's not as simple, I think.
Okay, and then at the end, you reverse the list, right?
Yeah, that's the reverse part. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I add in in this order 14, and just add 7 is like sorry, I'm just starting with in this order. Yeah. So at the end, I'm going to have the same result, but reverted. So
I love this solution.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, but you were mentioned that you can use recursion. Yeah, you can use recursion also to deduce this this form. It's like you use recursion just to observe what's changing, or which values, like which, how is the path is, um, it's what I can say is like how is the path it's building, or which numbers are um, just are part of this path.
Oh yeah, because
Mhm.
you're not even given a tree. You're just given a label. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can use recursion just to deduce this form, this equation. But yeah, I before I just use deduction, I think I use recursion, but just to deduce the equation of the form. But if you use recursion for the for to meet this problem, I think you are going to have some trouble when you
Yeah.
work with this 10 to the power of 6. This is a, a large value, so it's going to be like time limit exceed for.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But
Yeah,
you
the
can
solution is pretty good.
yeah.
I can't find any fault with it.
Yeah, it takes time, but as I mentioned, I use recursion as a first approach before this approach. Yeah, but you can just try to play with these values. If you play
Mm-hmm.
with the values, you can just build some equation. Yeah.
So basically, you draw on the whole thing, and you try to find a pattern.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That helps a lot. Yeah. You just visualize or draw this kind of chart, and you can find this solution just by observing.
Nice. Did you happen to read Proofs by Jay Cummings? Because Jim's about to recommend it if you haven't.
Bro, I'm
No?
reading. I'm doing like an hour of math every single night, man, just to stay up to date
Oh
and
yeah,
practice.
that helps a lot.
Yeah, bro. I remember like a while ago, Fernando's like, I want to get better at the mathematical solutions. We were coming up with solutions for problems, and Fernando's like, I want to get better at mathematical solutions. Man, this is clean. I love this. This is beautiful, man. This is
Oh
nice.
Yeah,
yeah,
this
I
is
remember
incredible.
there were some mathematical problems on Leak Code. Then
Yeah.
there was the second problem we couldn't solve it at, at that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I especially like the part where you calculate the level.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a beautiful solution. I like it when you really actually plug in where the label is and where the starting point is. It really starts to make sense. That's cool.
So what does
Good
leak
job.
code say about time complexity, space complexity, and like 94%, 10%? What does it say? Like you submit.
Um.
When you submit your code, what did it say?
Um. Uh. Yeah, we have this.
That's pretty good.
100%. 100%.
It's just like some kind of chart that it could give you in case just compare with other solutions. Like, it seems like this is. Oh, this guy
Oh
is
shit!
a mathematician.
I'm
Yeah,
scared
I
of
know
that.
what's in this code. Yeah, this is an upper level of mathematics. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like using log to calculate the level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta hop off, y'all. But I'm gonna try to come tomorrow with one of the hard solutions just ready to go and ready to explain. But I'll go ahead and post a easy and a medium, a fresh one for tomorrow, and then it's Thursday, so feel free to hang out and chat as long as y'all want. If you want to work on another problem or even just talk about data structures, algorithms. Otherwise, feel free to reach out anytime, and have a good night, everybody.
Yeah, by the way, thanks, Fernando. That was pretty cool. I really love your explanation.